Live back in action, attacking your speakers from the field to the bleachers. You know what's up. This is the Power 32 podcast. We are in the house ready to rock and roll. I got my man, Mr. Primetime 313, David Dale in the house, along with the smartass Kenny Pickums is in here as well. What's going on, boys?
Chilling.
What up, though, man? Live on this beautiful Thursday evening. It went from 70 degrees to 35 degrees here in Michigan. Only in Michigan does it do crap like, well, can't say that, but yeah, it's a pretty regular thing, man. The weather here went from barbecue weather to I thought I was going to have to shovel snow today.
Damn, man. Shoot, we went from like 80 to 70, so I can't, it's Florida, man. That's why I moved here, bro. That's what's up.
Oh, man, I feel.
We got primetime frozen, Kenny?
A little bit.
A little bit. All right, we'll make it through.
Listen, you don't want to hear about the weather.
No, I'm good.
We don't want, geez, forget about it. You know what? It's March in like a lion, not like a lamb, is whatever they say. So, the weather will be turning in a little bit. But we got football to talk about. A lot of action going on as always. And when there isn't a ton of action, you got to find things to do. We thought of ranking the top 10 quarterbacks of all time. So we are going to do that in a little bit, but we got some business to get to, boys. And that is a potential rule change coming in the NFL. Now, let me read a little something to you guys real quick. This is from NFL Network's Nick Shook. He posted this article. A potentially transformative set of rule proposals were submitted by the handful of NFL clubs on Wednesday. One is a tush push, but perhaps the most significant is a proposal to revamp playoff seeding. Submitted by the Detroit Lions, the proposal would amend the current seeding format to allow wild card qualifiers to be seeded above division champions if they finish with a better regular season record. The number one overall seed would remain the same, the division winner with the best record. So obviously they're talking about reseeding. The proposal also states that if two or more playoff participants finish with the same one-loss tied percentage at the end of the regular season, priority shall be given to a team or teams that are division champs. So there still is something to win in the division. To close it out, this change would have an effect on most recent playoffs in 4 separate games. On the wild card weekend, instead of hosting the 11-6 Chargers on the opening weekend of the postseason, the 10-7 Texans would have had to travel to LA to take on Jim Harbaugh's squad. In addition, in the NFC, if the adjustments would have been made, instead of posting the Vikings, who were 14-3, the Rams, who were 10-7, would have had to go in the wild card round to Philadelphia, who was 14-3 as well, to face the Eagles, which ended up being a matchup anyway. But nevertheless, Tampa was 10-7. They would have gone to Minnesota instead of hosting the Commanders, who were 12-5, and Green Bay would have had to travel to Washington to face Jaden Daniels and that squad, who were 12-5. So I know that's a lot to digest, but the bottom line is that they want to revamp the seeding. They want to do reseeding in the NFL. You have to win the division if you want to make the playoffs, obviously. But once you get there, in those scenarios, teams with the better record will have a higher seeding. What are you guys' thoughts on that one, Kenny?
I agree. I think it's a good idea.
You like it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So all right. So you're giving the points to the teams that get the points, the ones that have the higher, the better record, whatever it is. So
the better team, the more stats, the more exciting, the more colorful uniforms.
and I tend to agree with you in prime time. I want to hear what you got to think. The only thing I push back on is that not all divisions are created equal. So you look at like the NFC South, the AFC South, really weak divisions where you got Tampa really, for the most part, dominating that one, and then Houston dominating in the AFC South. So there is a little something to winning the division, getting that seed. But then on the other hand, winning that division, playing lesser teams, and getting a better record as a result of it prime time.
Yeah, I think I kind of agree with that. I think when you look at Minnesota at 14-3 last year, there was no way that they should have had to, the circumstances, they probably, the way that they kind of choke in the playoffs, it may not have mattered anyway. But I think I think you should just everybody with the best record. Everything should be seeded according to the best record. This whole, a 10-7 team hosting a playoff team or 12 games or whatever. I understand. They're still weighted because of the division wins. The division, like you say, still means something. But at the end of the day, man, I think if the team has a better record, that team should be the one hosting the playoff game. And if it comes at the sacrifice of maybe having a division winner go on the road, then kind of so be it. Because the NFL, I know, have been talking about this for a while. I know other sports kind of give weight to, their kind of playoff format is kind of the same. But all things being equal, man, I think the teams with the best records should be the ones that are hosting these home playoff games, regardless of the division wins or not.
Yeah, and this pretty much happens every year. And a lot of years stick out to you when Seattle won their division at 7-9, and they hosted the New Orleans Saints, who were coming off an NFL Super Bowl championship. They ended up winning with Marshawn beast mode, went wild and everything like that. So, there's a lot of scenarios where it isn't fair, but is life fair? That's the other question. But I tend to agree with you guys. Because that the NFC East is a tougher division than the NFC South, or the AFC North is a much tougher division than the AFC South. So you got to.
Well, what? Can we go a little further with that? Can we move on from this to another thing completely real quick, and then we can go? I kind of like the way basketball does it a little better, and like hockey and stuff. Don't they just do the best teams in order from top to bottom? No division, doesn't matter. We can be in divisions. We could do something with divisions, but I feel like the best teams with the most wins should be the ones who go to the important games and get to go to the Super Bowl.
Exactly.
I don't care about conferences and divisions. I just don't care. I'd rather see it that way, because we would have had way more exciting games for the last 20 years, if you ask me, taking the best teams to the playoffs, not the teams who win their divisions.
Well, they may do that.
I
so
agree.
That is definitely on the table, man. That's a possibility. It may happen. I
20
wanted
years
to. Go ahead. What?
20 years from now, maybe.
Oh, no, that'll happen soon, man. If it does happen, it's going to happen soon enough. We'll see. But I don't know. Last week, I asked you guys a trivia question. I thought I may continue the tradition with the trivia questions. So here it goes. In 2019, Lamar Jackson became the second player in NFL history to be named the unanimous MVP. Who was the first?
Oh, wow. Peyton Manning?
Is it recently, or is it like an all-time thing?
Well, I mean, it's fairly recently, I guess you can say. It's not like it was in 1979.
Okay.
I'm going to go Peyton Manning.
Peyton Manning is the guess for Mr. Primetime. All right. Kenny, do you agree, or are you going somewhere else?
We'll say Pat Mahomes.
Pat Mahomes, Peyton Manning, both incorrect. It is the legend, Tom Brady. Tom Brady is the only one.
I'm staring at his face right now, too. Figure.
Oh.
He did it in 2010. 2010.
I'm wearing his jersey right now. So,
unbelievable.
Yeah, let's go figure. Okay.
The irony
of
of
that. We're doing our list.
You got us. Stump the Schwab.
Oh, man. Yeah, I'm going to throw you guys one every week, man. All right. So, to get to more shit, something got me thinking, and I've been thinking about this for a while in the NFL, about how unfair it is on the defense in so many ways, but penalty-wise, how unfair it is. And then I started making a list of all the penalties on defense that are an automatic first down. And you know what? There's only one penalty on defense that is not an automatic first down, and that would be offside. Every other one is holding, pass interference, unnecessary roughness, okay, block in the back, clipping, horse collar, helmet to helmet, face mask, roughing the passer, roughing the kicker. Every one of them is an automatic first down.
Has that been have they been changing those rules gradually, or is that just like they just one day they were all like that?
As long as I remember, pass interference used to be a 15-yard penalty. So say it was 3rd and 18, it would be 3rd and 3.
Yeah, I don't like the automatic first down if that's what we're talking about. Not a fan of that.
Too much.
I don't either. That's That's a bailout. That's a big time bailout. And
It is.
we've seen some games decided by a third and 18, third and 19, and all of a sudden the guy throws the ball 30 yards downfield. There's a bump or two here and there, and then all of a sudden it's a first down. This should be just like in college, man. It should be a 15-yard penalty. And there's a lot. I've been thinking about that for a long time too, about the way that the offense has such an advantage. When it comes to the penalties, and the defense just gets, it's hard being a defensive player, especially as the rules change and they get more strict on stuff. It's tough playing defense right now in the NFL. And then the penalties and the way that they got them set up right now doesn't make it any easier.
Yeah, one more thing, quick. It makes the refs, it gives them too much power. Like, you want to call three penalties in a row to give somebody a first down, fine. But every time it's a penalty like that, it's a first down. It just continues 4 more downs. Go again.
It makes their job a lot easier. A first down. Don't have to think about measuring. Don't have to think about doing this or that.
Maybe it's for the speed of the game.
The horse collar, in my opinion, that shouldn't be an automatic. And then holding on defense, that's only a 5-yard penalty. And it's an automatic first down. That doesn't make any sense. It's an oxymoron. It's like jumbo shrimp. It don't make any sense. I don't get it. But whatever. This is the NFL. This is
right.
Hey, real quick. We just saw one of the 49er games. I think it was the 49ers versus Tampa last year. It was right after the bye. The Niners actually won in some miracle. But not Joey Bosa. Nick Bosa was about to sack Baker, but he couldn't, because Baker was stiff-arming him. And so Bosa was not allowed to grab his arm and pull his dumb ass down, because that's a penalty. Is that ridiculous or what?
Well,
what do you think?
A little insane.
It's not his throwing arm. If he wants to stick his other arm out there to stiff arm, Bosa should be able to throw him across the friggin' field from his arm.
Why can't he throw his arm down? Why is that a penalty?
He can't. So here's what it is. If I have you like this, if I'm holding you like by your chest, and I'm running away with the ball, which was what he was doing, Bosa can't pull your arm down and sack you. It's complete bullshit. The craziest shit I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah, the whole sack thing and roughing the passer has gotten way out of hand.
Like bubble wrapped.
Yes, that, and I think once he starts running, he's fair game, just like a running back. I think they should ban quarterbacks from sliding. The whole way the quarterbacks are treated right now, man, it's too much. These guys are making $50 million a year now. All of that crap, all of that.
Quarterbacks even admit that. Tom Brady even admits that. I mean, the GOAT, he says, these are just like, pussified rules over here. I mean, it's bullshit what they're doing.
Prime time. When like the quarterback's going to slide, but then he doesn't.
Mm-hmm.
That's not right.
No.
You can't do that.
The whole Patrick Mahomes fake going out of bounds thing, you can't be pulling that shit. I don't like that.
That's right. He needs
20 yards.
He needs a Mo Lewis. He needs a Mo Lewis hit. He'll stop that real quick.
Oh yeah, you ain't kidding, man. Yeah, knock your spleen out of your freaking body. Well, we're gonna get to this top 10 list in a little bit, but to go over a couple other things. So, Aaron Rodgers is not going to Minnesota. They made it clear they rejected trades for JJ McCarthy. I never thought that was going to happen anyway. So it's down to really the Giants, Pittsburgh, or retirement. I ran a little poll on Twitter, and Pittsburgh ended up the winner. And that's what I was kind of saying last year, that I'll end up being a Pittsburgh Steeler. But some part of me is thinking maybe he'll retire, because, Kenny, what the fuck is taking so long? I mean, if you're going to play and you want to play and your options are very limited, what are you doing? Why aren't you having a meeting? What are
He's out there.
What happened? You got a breeze?
That guy is like pondering life right now. You know what I mean? He's like, what do I do? He's like, I can go out there another year. I can throw 55 touchdowns, 4 interceptions, and everyone's still going to hate me. It's time to retire, bro. You need to step aside. You've won your things. You've made your point. Probably, undoubtedly, a top 10 quarterback of all time, very possibly on some people's list. He's a machine. He did his thing, barely threw interceptions, barely lost his games because he wasn't throwing interceptions. It was other people losing games for the Packers. And so I respect the guy in that thing, but like at the end of his career, he took some weird turn. He kind of turned me off. I'm not a fan anymore. And like, he's not Tom Brady, which is what I think he wanted to do. He wanted to hang around a little longer and do a Tom Brady thing where he was playing older and still winning Super Bowls. And it's just, when you go to the Jets, how could you possibly think that's an option?
Didn't work out that way, not so much.
And that right there, you hit it right on the head, Kenny. I've never been an Aaron Rodgers fan, never ever in my life. But at the same time, you start to respect what he's done, I guess. But I do think that he was planning on, you know, the longevity. He probably thought he was going to win a couple more Super Bowls, but he totally lost me when he decided to go to the Jets, who had no chance of winning anything anytime soon.
That's right.
So, and I don't even know if it was a money grab. I think it was just he's an attention whore. And I think when you look at him as a whole, his whole career has been about attention, whether it's how long he takes to make decisions in the offseason, holding
Prime
teams
time
hostage,
from day one.
throwing teams under the bus, teammates under the bus, throwing coaches under the bus. It's always been about him. And that's one of the reasons why I never liked the guy and I never will. But you're right, man, to go to the Jets to say, hey, I'm going to, you know, pivot and this is going to be, you know, springboard me to a Super Bowl or even a deep playoff run. That was one of the dumbest things I've ever seen any great quarterback do in my life.
Or it's super duper cocky, right? I'm going to go in division to the worst team in that division and do what Tom Brady did. Bro, what are you, Josh Rosen? And like you said, he's been since day one at the draft, whining, head down. I didn't get picked by the Niners. It's like, bro, pick your head up. Like, come on. What's wrong with you? You don't remember that? Draft day?
Absolutely remember that. I probably still got out a VHS tape somewhere.
And are you kidding me? I remember that we should have drafted him instead of Alex Smith. We may have more Super Bowls right now if we would have taken Aaron Rodgers. Give me a break, man. You kidding me? Steve-O saying we can't even stop talking about him. Steve-O, we went the entire last show without mentioning Aaron Rodgers' name until the very, very end when we said didn't mention his name. But no, I don't want to talk about him anymore, to be honest with you. I mean, I want to see what happens, but what is Pittsburgh and New York waiting for, and even Cleveland for that matter, with Russell Wilson? I mean, everybody's waiting for Aaron Rodgers to make his decision, and he's, again, eating it up, like you guys say, because he's all freaking Hollywood. What a joke. Yo, so Stefon Diggs primetime meeting with the Patriots, really good move. They need a veteran wide receiver in there. I'm all for it. Give the guy 24, 25 million probably, even though he doesn't deserve that much. They got the money. They
you guys remember when the very first show we did, we actually talked about what coach we would want to be. That's one of the first things we did, if you guys remember. And I said the Pats, because I wanted to be in a division that I thought I could win, aka the Jets. I know people don't like this, but I still say aka the Bills. It's not going to happen. And so it's a division I felt like I could win. I don't know if we knew Vrabel was going there yet at the time. I just saw with their pick, with the talent that they already had, I feel like they had a decent year last year. They just didn't translate into wins. And so this year, I feel like the Pats really nailed it. They're still going for it, and they know in that division they can possibly compete.
Yeah, I think in that division, they're probably just competing for second place right now. But we did talk on a couple of previous shows. Right. We did talk on a couple of previous shows, though, how they would do well with a veteran wide receiver, whether it be Diggs or Amari Cooper. Keenan Allen was probably out of question. I think Keenan Allen may end up retiring.
He didn't go back to the Chargers? I figured that's what he would do, maybe.
Well, that's what he wanted to do, but I think that kind of went out the window. I think the Chargers have other things in mind. I don't think Harbaugh would want him back. I think, he got, his last little bit that he got with Chicago. I think there was really nothing left when you look at the last half of last season with him. They really didn't throw the ball too much. He wasn't even really targeted that much. But Stefon Diggs, Amari Cooper, Mike Vrabel making one of those two moves. I could see that, like we talked about last week, helping Drake May kind of get to that next level, or at least have that veteran presence in the locker room. They may end up drafting a young wide receiver, in the later rounds, but I still think a young quarterback like Drake May, who seems to be the guy now, I think he would very much benefit from having a guy like Stefon Diggs or Amari Cooper in the locker room. Even though those guys didn't put up huge stats last year, it's still a veteran presence, and I think in the long run, I think it'll help this team, because they're kind of a fairly young team on offense, and having a guy like that, I don't even think it'll take 24, 25 million. They may be able to get these guys, due to their age and the lack of interest right now, they may be able to get these guys for less than 20.
Well, that'd be interesting. I don't know about less than 20. I mean, Devontae Adams got 23 a year. I mean, maybe somewhere around there. But, yeah, I mean, either way, I think they should sign him if they have to overpay a little bit. And if they do, that would make you think they're going to want to get Ashton Jeanty even more. I know you guys disagree with this, and so does the entire world. Nobody has Ashton Jeanty going to the Patriots. But when I think of Mike Vrabel's team, I think defense and running the ball. Don't forget where he coached Tennessee with Derrick Henry. All right? They got the number 1 overall seed with Mike Vrabel as a coach, playing defense, Ryan Tannehill as the quarterback, and Derrick Henry running the ball. So I really think that should be the way. I know they're giving it thought. Will they do it? Probably not, because there's a possibility that Travis Hunter or Abdul Carter falls to them, and then it's going to be like, oh, my God, how do we pass on this guy? But Jeanty, man, I don't know. I think he fits in with that offense, bro. I really do. I really do. You mentioned Amari Cooper before, Keenan Allen, they're out there. There are teams like the Cardinals, the Jets. You mentioned the Patriots, the Chargers. They need to get another wide receiver. So do the Broncos. You mentioned them. So there's still a lot of teams out there that need wide receivers, but the wide receiver market has shrunk significantly. There's not as many.
Is Tyler Lockett still out there? Or did he sign with somebody? I haven't seen.
Yeah, I haven't seen him sign.
He's out there. Well, look, he hasn't really had a good season in the past, maybe 3 years. I mean, I don't think he's broken 1,000, maybe. If I could be wrong about that, I don't have the stats in front of me, but
yeah, it's like Deebo Samuel. I don't think he had 1,000 yards in the last 3 years.
Yeah, definitely not. I remember he had that 1,500-yard season in 21, maybe it was 22, whatever it was.
14 something, I don't know, close to that. I know he played well his rookie year, 2019, and then 2021, I think it was, and that was about it.
Yeah. Otherwise, he was just that amazing piece that we had. Now he's gone to Washington. Washington did a lot of great things. Laramie Tunsil, everybody raving about the move. It's a good move. Don't get me wrong. He's a really good left tackle, but he's one of the most penalized tackles in the entire league. That guy.
Yeah, he's older and he's slower.
A lot of penalties. So good move if he could be coached up a little bit.
It wasn't cheap either, right? It's not a cheap move.
No, not at all.
Yeah, I mean, I don't like it, but that's they're going for it.
Yeah, they're going for it. A couple other guys out there: Cam Robinson, Brandon Scherf, who's a little bit older now.
Cam Robinson actually just got signed. Is that what you're saying? Or
did he get signed?
Yeah, I think he just got signed, and I believe it was to one of the people who keep hiring, who just keep signing people. It was one of those teams.
Normally,
I remember when Brandon Scherf, what is he, 33 now? I think I remember when he first came into the league. He was supposed to be like the next Orlando Pace.
Right. He was.
He was. But years go by. You look back and you're kind of like, man, these guys. And I think if you look at the free agents that are left, a common denominator is age. All these guys are, outside of maybe, I think Asante Samuel, who's like 25, 26, something like that. Most of the free agents that are left, the top 20 or so free agents, these guys are all like 30. I mean, you got Calais Campbell, who's 71. You got, he's 39 years old. Aaron Rodgers, 41 years old. There's a lot of guys, Amari Cooper and those guys are, they're not spring chickens either. So I think that might be contributing to one of the reasons why it's taking a lot of these guys to get signed. Because you can probably get younger and cheaper.
Well, I don't get the Asante Samuel, though, because he's like 25-year-old and he's a good cornerback. So there's got to be
something. I know. I'm shocked he's not signed. I'm shocked. If I'm the Lions, I probably would have signed him before Reed.
Russ might be really balancing some pretty nice deals right now from a couple teams. That's what it might be.
We'll see.
Yeah, I'm shocked he's not signed.
Yeah, we're waiting for more of that free agent news to drop. We can go through a whole bunch of teams right now, but we've done it. We've been there. We've kicked the butt already, so we're not going to reiterate it with you guys. But, the bread and butter of this show today is that top 10 NFL quarterbacks of all time. And you could do it in any way that you want. The way that I did it, guys, I did it by the guys that I watch play. So I'm not saying that Johnny Unitas doesn't belong in there, or if you want to put Terry Bradshaw or Dan Fouts or Otto Graham or Roger Staubach or
Sammy Ball, Bart Starr.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Sonny Jurgensen, right? Let me ask you guys real quick. We talk, a lot of people say, well, it's not rings and it's not stats. So you get guys that got a lot of rings but not the stats, like Terry Bradshaw. You got guys that got a lot of stats but no rings like Dan Marino. So if you take stats and rings out of the equation, the only thing you're left really are the intangibles, the leadership, the decision making, the influence on teammates, all those sorts of things. So when I put a list together, when I put my list together, one of the things that I took stats and rings into consideration, but I also took kind of like innovations and kind of what they brought to the game that a lot of other quarterbacks didn't. And the cool thing that when you're going through lists like this, you look and it's like, wow, you look at like Brady and Breeze's passing records. There's not any active quarterbacks that are even going to come close to like, what Favre, I think Favre and Manning are over 70,000. Brady is almost at 90,000 yards. Breeze is at 80,000. There's no quarterbacks that are playing right now that are even going to come close to those stats, which kind of, I think, contributes to the legacy and the lore of these great quarterbacks that we're getting ready to talk about.
No doubt.
Yeah, I kept it in I kept it in my age range. That's what I did. From people
I basically went from, I was born in 1980. I went from 1980 on. That was kind of my thing.
I kind of like that anyway. 80 is a good time to start the new, because no disrespect to those guys. They did a ton of stuff and get a ton of respect. I just feel like it's too far removed.
Yeah,
I have one guy that's going to shock you guys, and I'll get to him fairly early. But I got one guy from the '60s that's gonna shock you guys.
Well, I also have a guy.
You probably already know. Jay probably knows where I'm going because we talked about it.
Oh, dude, I'm gonna pick the same guy, Primetime, and I know exactly what you're talking about.
And you know what? You're well and worth your right, because if the guy I'm thinking of won 2 Super Bowls, then you know what? You damn well better have him in there, and I got no problem.
Oh no! We're talking about a guy who lost 3 Super Bowls.
Oh, so 3 Super Bowls.
I think that's what we're talking about, right?
If it's the original, we don't want to spoil it, but we'll get to it.
Get there. We'll see who.
We're probably on the same page, Kenny.
All right. I'm looking forward to
Eli, we didn't say the name we're not supposed to say, but I know what you're talking about too, because he is up there. He's definitely like top 15, probably. Right?
Yeah, it's
Eli Manning has got
like holy crap.
Man, I didn't even consider him. He never even jumped in my mind. I thought about his brother.
Kenny? That was a cheap shot.
If you
that was a cheap shot, Kenny.
3 heads twice, I feel like that's some recognition.
And you're looking at the biggest Eli Slappy in the world, but I did not have him surprisingly in my top 10. As bad as I wanted to put him there, I didn't want to ruin Jason's night, so I didn't even want to. I didn't even.
Yeah, no, I didn't.
Had to touch short the whole 9, man. Forget about it. All right,
we still got We still got a Giants quarterback in there, though.
Yeah, technically we do.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, we're going to talk about this. All right. I have a feeling that my list is vastly different from your guys. Who wants to kick it off? Number 2. We'll go 10-1.
Go ahead, Kenny.
Okay. Number 10. Okay, let me see where did I start here. That you just threw me for a huge loop going backwards. Primetime, are you ready? Go first.
I'm ready. My number 10.
Go first, because I'm scrolling through pages of like writing.
Yeah, there's actually my number 10. There was a tie. Number 10, I'm tied with Terry Bradshaw simply because he had the 4 rings. But my true number 10 quarterback is the original mobile quarterback, and I'm talking none other than Fran Tarkenton from the former Minnesota Vikings. 5 years with the Giants. The guy threw for 47,000 yards in his career, and I think a lot of people really don't realize that. He had 342 passing touchdowns. He had 3,674 rushing touchdowns. He was the original mobile quarterback. Couldn't win the big game, but when you're talking about a quarterback that kind of ignited like an entire genre, and there really wasn't a quarterback like him until the 90s, when you start talking about the Randall Cunninghams and things like that. So Fran Tarkenton, to me, was a guy who was ahead of his time, and I think he deserves to be, if you talk about innovators of the game and guys that made a big influence on the game, you can't do it without talking about Fran Tarkenton. And no, I'm not old enough to have seen him play.
But it's all right. You know what? We got tape, we have stats, and I understand exactly why he was there. He showed up in Super Bowls, like you said, for Minnesota. Didn't win them, but, not a big guy, but a scrambler, can throw on the run. Did a lot of really good things, Fran Tarkenton. Know that about it. Kind of reminded me of like Doug Flutie a little bit, but better.
He revolutionized the game with his running.
Yep.
I kind of did. Well, it's funny that you have a tie at number 10 because I have only one tie, and that would be at number 10. And I think I may shock you guys. I've seen enough of these two quarterbacks to know that they belong with the best quarterbacks of all time. I've weighed my options against other guys, former Bills quarterbacks and former Oilers quarterbacks. I can go on and on. But to me, these two quarterbacks are as equal as you can get. And to me, when I ran down the list, I'm like, you know what? They're better than these other guys from the 80s and 90s and 2000s, and especially Eli fucking Manning. And I'm sorry.
Stop,
they
man. Stop it.
But Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson are tied for my number 10. They have shown me enough. They have shown me enough that they are as good as they get in NFL history. Number 10, tie. I knew that would shock you guys. But I'm telling you, I've seen enough. They've been playing for long enough. Lamar's got 2 MVPs. You know, Josh just won his first. And they're both right there on the cusp of winning that Super Bowl, which a lot of other guys, like Danny Boy, didn't do.
I need to write that down because I am shocked.
Well,
shocked.
I could upset some. I'm going to upset some people with number 9 for me. I think.
My eyes.
And here's the thing: I did have to take Super Bowls and you know, I did take the rings into consideration because I was working with a very like Jason. I was really working in that 40-year range. And there's only a few quarterbacks in those years that were like on top of their game and for years in a row, you know, winning games and being the best. So it's not like we had 40 different quarterbacks in those years that were like incredible.
Right.
My number 9 is going to be Troy.
Wait. Number 9. Who's
well, you didn't do your 10.
Oh, I did. It was Frank Tarkenton. That was number 10.
Oh, we do. Okay, we did agree. Okay.
Oh, so we did have 3 or just 2 as number 10?
By the way, okay, so I thought that you guys were talking about Bart Starr because you said the 60s.
No.
It was more the 70s.
Yeah, he was more 70s. You're right.
Yeah.
All right, fair enough. All right.
But yeah,
so
that's
number 9, Kenny. Go ahead.
Yeah, so 9 was Troy Aikman for me. I'm sorry that could be a problem for some people. He was super accurate. He had like the most completions in NFL history, didn't he? He only played 12 years.
What?
He was
Troy Aikman, the most. No, Tom Brady has that record by a country mile.
Oh, maybe up until
Troy
he wasn't.
Troy. Oh my God, Kenny. Troy Aikman's biggest claim to fame was that
Tom Brady. He stopped before him. So they didn't play together. I'm just saying at his point when he was the quarterback.
I mean, I know that he won 3 Super Bowls with the Cowboys, but he was never the MVP. He was never that guy.
3,200 yards, 165
touchdowns. 3,200? Steve Young was throwing 4,500 with his eyes closed.
No, there's no way. There's no way.
Did Steve Young have Emmitt Smith on his team?
Troy Aikman had Emmitt Smith on his team, the all-time leader.
Troy Aikman has 17 Hall of Famers on his team.
Yeah, the best offensive line that God ever created.
There's no way.
He had almost.
I don't even think did Troy Aikman ever have 20 touchdown passes in one season?
4 touchdowns
talk of Michael Irvin, how great he was. What's
4
that?
4 touchdowns in 1 Super Bowl.
I can't. For as much as I love you, Kenny, for the Frank Tarkenton thing, that Troy Aikman's not even in my top 20.
Man, I'm with you, bro. He
number
just
1 draft pick. In his number 1 draft pick, he had a rough start.
Wow, that's
when he started out. Ended up
the
with
one
3
thing you
Super
could
Bowls.
say about the guy. I'll give you this: is that he's
Super Bowl
a
MVP.
He's a winner. He's a winner. He's a winner.
Yeah.
6 Pro Bowls.
He's a winner.
I don't understand.
3rd most wins of any quarterback.
I don't know about 9. I can't wait to hear the rest of your list. This is going to be a long night. Prime. Who do you got at number 9?
3rd most wins.
At number 9, and this is my last older quarterback, is basically the first celebrity quarterback. One of the guys who really put the position of quarterback on the map and made them the golden boys of the football field, and that is, you got to go number 19. That's Johnny U from the Baltimore Colts.
Yeah.
He's one of the. He was the first. Like I say, part of my list is guys influence on the game, and Johnny Unitas was one of the guys, probably the first quarterback to put quarterbacks on the map and make them, the centerpiece of the teams. He had the endorsements, he had the ladies, he had the You know, he won a Super Bowl. You know, he was kind of one of those pioneers that really put the quarterback position on him. And I know there was a lot. You know, you talk about the Otto Grahams and all those guys, but Johnny U with the buzz cut, you know, playing for the Baltimore Colts, I think he was one of the first celebrity quarterbacks when it came to, you know, really putting the focus on the quarterback and you know, all the, like I said, all the commercials and all the ladies and all the, you know, just making it the position that we know it to be today. And that's my last old guy. Everybody else
all the blocking assignments of all his offensive line.
Yeah, he was an innovator.
One of the best quarterbacks ever. There's no doubt about it. In an era where the forward pass wasn't much of a thing, he was throwing that ball and throwing it well. There's no doubt about it. So I like that. No debate, no problem at your number 9 over there. My number, I'm on number 9. That's right. All right. So, guys, I went with the 1984 MVP, 9-time Pro Bowler, 3-time All-Pro. No Super Bowls, and that's what hurts him a little bit, even though I'm not huge on the Super Bowls. But Marino only got to one. That was in his second year when he won that MVP and really could not get over the hump of beating the Buffalo Bills, the Steelers, the Broncos, the Jaguars. I mean, again, Marino.
The Browns, when they were good.
I'll give him that he didn't have the greatest defense in the world. They didn't have the greatest running game. But all the other quarterbacks who didn't have that, like John Elway, who will come up later on, Dan Marino, excellent, amazing, one of the best arms you'll ever see. But he's not going to crack my top 5. He's in my number 9.
Wow. I agree with that 100%. I've always thought Marino, the legend of Dan Marino, I thought was a little bit overblown. But when you're talking about pure passer, you know, he's one of the guys that a lot of these younger, the quarterbacks after him wanted to be like. They wanted to have that quick release that, you know, he was a guy couldn't run to save his life, but he didn't have to when you had to release that quick. And you're throwing to Mark Duper and Mark Clayton. That didn't hurt either. So, yeah, I don't have any beef with that.
No doubt, no doubt.
I think it's a little low, but yeah.
That's fine. That's why we're doing this list right here. But Danny Boy, number 9 for me, and I got 8 other quarterbacks who I feel were better than him in their primes and throughout their careers. So we'll get to it. But all right, Kenny, let's hear your number 8. I can't wait to hear it. Who's going to be
number 8? Drew Brees.
Drew Brees.
Okay. Number 8.
Okay.
Known for his accuracy, which is, if you're a scout in the NFL, first thing you look for in a quarterback is accuracy. Always. Poise, decision making. Can he play outside the structure of the game? That's what they look for. I feel like my dude was that. He was incredibly accurate. He was a little dude. He had a big heart. A lot of quarterbacks are going to be in front of him, and no one's going to probably even remember Drew Brees. I thought he was fantastic. I love the little guy. Great form.
Little fella.
Standing straight up.
Brought the Super Bowl to New Orleans, man. Brought that city back. Hurricane Katrina and everything.
Even got
like
himself
that.
a Super Bowl. Yeah.
Beating Peyton Manning in the Super Bowl. Fantastic. Drew Brees. I'm cool with that. He had a lot of football, passing records until Tom Brady stuck around until he was 97 Pro Bowl.
Numero ocho, Drew Brees.
All right.
Even though he was number 9.
Wow. Well, my number 8 is a guy we just actually talked about. My number 8 is Dan Marino. And I think the reason why I have him so low is because he didn't win a ring, and we just went over all that. But just like I say, just from a pure passing standpoint, man, there are very few guys since then or before then that could throw the rock like he could. And a lot of people, we talk about the running. If he had any semblance of a running game at all, Dan Marino might have won 3 Super Bowls. It was tough back then, like you said, though, Jay. You had Cleveland, you had Buffalo, you had Pittsburgh. They had some. He had some odds to overcome, but just the lack of the running game, I think, was his biggest hindrance. But you really can't put that on him. That's management's fault for not addressing that situation and making it better for him. So I got Dan Marino at number 8 for all the reasons we've been talking about.
No running game for that poor guy.
Yeah, you got to be able to overcome that, though, if you're going to be one of the greats of all time. And he is. It sounds like we're bashing him right now. He's number 9 and number 8, respectively, on our list with me in primetime. And based on Kenny's reaction, he's going to be coming up in his list anytime soon. So there you go.
Yeah.
All right. I dig it. So Danny Boy is your number 8. My number 8. That's where we're at right now, right? Number 8?
Yeah.
All right, my number 8 is Steve Young. Now, I thought about putting him a little bit higher. But Steve Young, look, you got to remember, his career was shortened significantly because he played in the USFL, then he sat behind Joe Montana, and then he got concussed every other freaking game. But he was a Super Bowl champion, holds the record for most Super Bowl throws most Super Bowl, touchdowns. 6 touchdown passes by Steve Young in the Super Bowl. He was the MVP in that game, and he won 2 regular season MVPs. That guy was one of the most accurate quarterbacks of all time until somebody else, who we'll mention in a little bit, came along and broke those records. But Steve Young, as good as it gets, and for a lefty, it is harder to catch the ball. It looks weird, looks a little different for the wide receivers, but he was able to place it perfectly in their laps. Not to mention, he's one of the best running quarterbacks of all time and one of the smartest. Freaking lawyer the guy is. Steve Young, number 8, could even be higher, guys.
I think he could be higher, yeah, but I may be.
I don't. That's back when I used to be a kind of a Niner fan too. I agree with everything you say. I love Steve Young. I absolutely love Steve Young. Ironically enough, I don't have him in my top 10.
Shame on you.
I know. But yeah, I Steve Young. I love Steve Young. Steve Young was the guy that made me wish I was left-handed. Because I played football in high school and stuff. I wish I was left-handed because of Steve Young, and just for that alone, I'm probably kicking myself now for not putting him in my top 10. I thought about it.
You still have time to put him at number 1 or 2.
Wow, that's not going to happen. But yeah, I don't have any problem with your pick for Steve Young. I absolutely love the guy.
All right, well, he's my number 8, which brings us to number 7, Kenny. Let's hear more from your weird list. Who do you got right now?
Number 7 on Kenny's list, which is going to be wild. Aaron Rodgers, number 7.
Okay. All right. Explain yourself.
Great arm, mobility, playoff appearances, Super Bowl, known for making some nice, accurate window throws. Tough dude, no interceptions, which is huge, right? You don't want to have interceptions because that means you lose the game. And if somebody else makes a mistake, the team it's not on you. It's not on the quarterback. Everybody looks at the quarterback. So if it's not your fault, that's also a good thing. And I feel like when you don't throw interceptions, you're not losing many games. It's not on you. And so right. Aaron Rodgers is up there for me. Top 7 quarterback for me.
No argument here, man. Aaron Rodgers is one of the best to ever do it. Maybe the best thrower of the football we've ever seen prime time. So, you know what? As much shit as we give him in his career, fantastic.
My left high. It's Favre and Rodgers. It's Brett Favre and Aaron Rodgers. They're mirror images of each other.
Okay.
You did like a Colby chat. You did like a Colby Jack. You put 2 cheeses together.
And came up with a great combination. One thing that and this goes to what Jay said earlier about Josh Allen. People give him shit for turning the ball over, but they revere Brett Favre. Brett Favre is the only quarterback in NFL history with more than 300 interceptions, and we bow down at the feet of Brett Favre. But yet Josh Allen, who, by the way, the only guy that's got a better TD to interception ratio than him over the last few years is Patrick Mahomes. Despite all the turnovers, Josh Allen is still damn good with the football. But we bow at the feet of Brett Favre, and we give Josh Allen crap for the same thing, and I just don't understand that. But Aaron Rodgers, it was kind of hard to separate the two. Rodgers succeeded Aaron, preceded Aaron. I'm sorry. Stats fairly similar. Both had the one ring, which is the one thing one reason why I had them so low, because I thought with especially Favre's teams, with some of the talent that he had around him, to only have one ring for as long as he played. And then Aaron Rodgers' ring was like 75 years ago, so a lot of people don't even remember it. But that's why I kind of had those guys tied, because it was really hard to separate the two.
You know, it's amazing that we got on Favre and Rodgers, because 7 and 6.
Don't look at the comments,
Jason. It's the first Josh Allen. You see, Josh Allen is amazing. Josh Allen's amazing. That's all there is to it. Brett Favre, Hall of Famer. Josh Allen will be a Hall of Famer. But my number 7 is Brett Favre, and my number 6 is Aaron Rodgers. Brett Favre, Super Bowl champ, 3-time regular season MVP, 11 Pro Bowls, all 1990s decade team. Aaron Rodgers, another Super Bowl champ, won the MVP of that Super Bowl. 4-time regular season MVP and the best touchdown interception ratio of all time. Hello. But the knock against them, both of them, is that they only got the one Super Bowl. Now, Brett Favre did go to 2. He lost to John Elway in the second one back-to-back. But Aaron Rodgers, to only get to that one Super Bowl and to really see him choke against the Niners, against even the Cowboys in certain situations during the playoffs, I got to remember that. And because of that, he's not 1, 2, or 3. He's got to be back at number 6. So, yeah, 7 and 6 for me, Favre and Aaron Rodgers, respectively. Interesting.
Nice.
So, Kenny, we are at your 6 now.
Am I at 6? Okay. John Elway. I know you just said it, so I didn't say you ruined it, but like I didn't want people to think I didn't have a guy locked and loaded, but he just happens to be the next guy. Johnny Elway. I love this guy. I love when he came out. I knew he couldn't be a Niner, but I always thought he was perfect for the Niners. Dual threat quarterback. Yep. This guy's got like the playmaking ability. He's got 2 Super Bowl victories. He retired with the most wins by a starting quarterback in the NFL history. That's when he retired. And he was awesome. And I thought he was great. And he's very underrated quarterback. And people probably not going to remember him either. There's a very good chance, like in 20 years, people are not going to talk about John Elway.
Well, they should talk about him because I'm talking about him with you right now. He's my number 5 also, John Elway. Like you said, 2-time Super Bowl champ. He won an MVP in the Super Bowl, 9 Pro Bowls. He was part of the all-90s decade team, which is not easy when you got Jim Kelly and Dan Marino and Steve Young and
the best time, wasn't it? I feel like the 80s and 90s were the most fun to watch football.
John Elway dragged 3 teams to the Super Bowl in the 80s. Now, he got his ass kicked in every one of them, but he was able to get through the AFC without a running game and without a defense, which is what Dan Marino could not do.
That's what I was just
saying. For that reason, is better than Dan Marino and number 5 on my list primetime.
Did the most with the least.
Yeah, and actually, my true number 6 was Drew Brees, and we won't go into all the reasons, but yeah, my biggest thing with Drew Brees was the way he brought that city back together after Hurricane Katrina. And I think Drew Brees, like you say, for a smaller quarterback, he's one of only 2 quarterbacks in NFL history with over 80,000 yards. That is an amazing stat, by the way.
It's like getting a car to 800,000 miles.
It's insane to think that a quarterback threw for 80,000 yards. But my number 5 is the same as Jason's, John Elway. John Elway is probably the most underappreciated quarterback. When you talk about great quarterback, he's been to 5 Super Bowls. When you talk about underappreciated quarterbacks, there's no more underappreciated quarterback in the history of the NFL than John Elway. People talk about Marino. People talk about Fouts. People talk about Warren Moon. People talk about Kurt and Warner. Get out of here with that. Yeah. John Elway is the Super Bowls. No, we're talking. You telling me you'd rather have Kurt Warner than John Elway?
Kurt Warner.
Oh yeah. Okay, I got you. But yeah, there's no John Elway to me. And if it wasn't for the guy who's number 4 on my list, John Elway would be number 4 all time on my John Elway. I love watching John Elway play. Absolutely love it.
I love that you're saying that, primetime, because I feel like I'm in the minority in this one. I talk about John Elway like he is the top 5 quarterback of all time, and I got him number 5, and it could be argued it could be better. He, again, like you said, Kenny, did the most with the worst. Unbelievable what he did. Can you name his receiver? Can anybody? Who knows who Vance Johnson is? And Michael Jackson was otherwise. Are you
right? Like
Ricky Nattiel.
I could remember them, but I could never tell you. I could never tell you.
What a joke. The best he ever had was Shannon Sharp, and then he left to Baltimore. That was the best he ever had.
Yeah.
Well, listen, I hear what you're saying about Elway, and I do love Elway. I did a short about Elway. but the reason he's not is because my number, that guy that's in the top, or my next one is 5, I believe, and that my number 5 guy is a guy that you guys, I think you both already mentioned, isn't it your turn, Primetime?
No, it's your number 5 right now.
It's my number 5. Okay, my number 5, and like I said, I took the Super Bowls into consideration. With this guy, I did. Number 5, Dan Marino.
Oh wow!
Famous, quick-ass release, powerful arm. He had a ton of passing records. He never won a Super Bowl, but he was still one of the best quarterbacks in NFL history, in my opinion. Another guy, and the reason I have him be in front of Elway is because I felt like he didn't have shit either to work with. But Elway did it. Even though Elway did it, I still think he had a little better teams. I could be wrong about that because it was a long time ago. I loved Mark Clayton. I loved Mark Duper. They had a good thing going. That's how they had all those passing. That's why he had so many great passing records and so many great numbers passing the ball. But how do you not get him a running back? It never crosses your mind to get this guy some help so that he could even be a more prolific thrower than he already was.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. He would have had much better, whether you want to call it stats or wins or maybe even a Super Bowl, had they given him a running game and a better defense. That was a big problem. So
it's funny they go from the Zonka to not having anything.
There are some people who swear Dan Marino was the best quarterback of all time. I mean, you know what? Let them believe what they want to believe. Dan Marino was great, and I'm not going to argue where he is on the top 10 list. I mean, again, he was number 9 for me for the reasons that I gave already. But, again, there's a lot of great quarterbacks out there. So, Prime, where are you at? Did you do your number 6 or are you on 5 right now?
Yeah, we're all on 4 right now.
We're all on 4. Okay. So you want to do number 4?
Well, my number 4 is, and I'm not a huge fan of his anyway, but you can't argue with 3 rings, and you can't argue with the trajectory. You were talking about you've seen enough of Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson. I mean, I think Patty Mahomes to kind of say, all right, he's probably never going to win 7 rings, and there's people up and down. My biggest thing, one of the reasons why I don't like guys is because you can't make the argument for that guy without comparing him with somebody else. Tom Brady wasn't even in the GOAT conversation. People refused to put him in the GOAT conversation until he won 4 rings at least. Patrick Mahomes has 3, and there's already people talking about he's the greatest of all. Stop it. Just stop it. He's not going to win 7. He may win 1, maybe 2 more, but he is good enough right now. And like kind of what you said about Allen and Lamar Jackson, even though I don't like Lamar Jackson. Patty Mahomes right now, 3 rings, you can't argue with it. Even though he's the powder puff poster child for not being touched, he finds a way to win. And that Kansas City team last year was not one of their best teams. And he willed them to a Super Bowl. So last year he kind of earned my respect, even though I knew they were going to probably get trashed this year in the Super Bowl, no matter who they played, just based on how they played down the stretch.
It's a better team.
One possession games. But Patrick Mahomes, number 4, and I was fighting 4 or 5, but I'm like 3 Super Bowls, you can't argue. As much as I'm not a huge fan of Mahomes, you can't argue with 3 rings.
Yeah, no doubt, man. That's well said right there. I mean, Pat Mahomes has already proven at such a young age that he belongs in the top 5, where it seems like we all got him. I'm not quite there yet. I'm going to go with Peyton Manning at number 4. And, man, did he have a great career, obviously. 14 Pro Bowls. I mean, he won 2 Super Bowls, one with Denver, one with Indy. Apparently, he likes horses a lot because of the Broncos and the Colts. Super Bowl MVP and 5-time regular season MVP. So he's got all the stats. Yeah, 5. That's a lot. That's no freaking joke. And that's more than anybody else in NFL history. But the thing is, those are regular season awards. And in the playoffs, he just wasn't at his best. And you know why? Because he was playing the best teams. He had issues with Baltimore. He had issues with the Patriots. He had issues with the Chargers, all right? He couldn't get past the teams for a while. He finally broke through and beat the Pats in 2006. They win the Super Bowl against Chicago. And then 10 years later or 8 years later, whatever it is, he goes to Denver. And while he broke records all over the place that still stand today, single season records with Denver, all right, in his second year. They lost the Super Bowl to Seattle, but he was still unbelievable. Then he ends up winning a Super Bowl. Not really a Peyton Manning Super Bowl. Von Miller was the MVP of that one. But Peyton Manning deserved to get that second championship because he was that great throughout his career. Peyton Manning was a rejuvenation of guys like John Elway, who called the game at the line and made all these audibles and said, all right, the mic is here. This is what we're going to do. We're going to slide protection. Here's the signal. Peyton Manning ran the offense, and he was incredible at it. And watching him play was one of my favorite players to ever watch.
Yep.
Watch him operate an offense. So he's the number 4 for me. And if you guys got him higher, no problem with that.
Who's your number 4, Kenny?
My number 4 is Peyton Manning.
Okay, there you
That's
go.
2 times, Jason. Because I
twice.
have my top 3 is set in stone. And so Peyton was number 4, 2-time Super Bowl champion, which is why he's 4. Revolutionized the quarterback position with his pre-snap adjustments. My man calls his own plays.
Yes.
Okay? He calls his own plays. And that's incredible. And he retired with all leading in touchdown passes and passing yards, which have both been surpassed. But he's still one of the GOATs. He didn't always have an O-line. His first rookie season, he had like 55 interceptions. I'm exaggerating, at 26, something like that. But you don't throw
Pretty
out the
damn
baby
close.
with the bathwater. And so they got him some help. He got a nice line. Eventually he got some nifty receivers. And the guy's just a smart guy, man. He can read defenses. He's tall. He's got an arm. And it's all the things you want, you know?
Yep, number 4 on both our lists right there, and well-deserved. Peyton Manning, amazing. Just those times in the playoffs where he just did not play his best. You want to call it choked, you want to call it whatever it was. They should have won more Super Bowls, and they didn't. And you know what? For everything that was said against their defense, so they didn't have a good defense, this and that and the other thing. You know what? Dwight Freeney, Robert Mathis coming at you, Bobby Sanders at safety. They had some pretty good freaking players, so I don't really want to get
Yeah, he did.
Look, also, you know what? I loved Jim Kelly, and I wanted to put him on this list really bad, but, you know, eventually you got to overcome what's happening around you, even if that means leaving your team. And
He
so
was
that's why I
just
left
on
him
the
off.
out.
But great guy. I
he was-
loved it.
Oh,
I originally had him and Marino tied. But then I just had to put. I really did.
I just left
but as
Favre
we were
off my
we were
list.
going
That's
through the
my big
list.
room.
I mean,
Yeah,
for
because Jim
Kelly,
Kelly forced
four
it.
Super
He
Bowls.
you talk about innovation. You talk about innovation. The K-gun offense. You know, he called his own plays. They started that. They kind of went piggyback off of that sugar huddle that Sam White used to use with the Cincinnati Bengals
what
and
a great
Boomer
name for the
Esiason.
past.
You know, Andre Reed, Thurman Thomas, Pete Metzelaars, Don Beebe, Cornelius Bennett, Daryl Talley, Bruce Smith. I mean, come on, man. You didn't win one? You didn't win one?
I think I've said this before when we've all been on. As a Niner fan, I wanted them to win so bad.
Me too.
Oh,
So did
God.
Chris Berman. Chris Berman picked the Niners and the Bills to play in the Super Bowl for like 9 years in a row.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. And it never happened. One of them always went, but not both of them.
Primetime also had some good times in the 80s and 90s, man. His team was a force. Bill Parcells and Bill Belichick on the same damn team. That shit's illegal.
Man, how does that happen?
That's illegal.
How does that happen? Right.
49ers
So,
did not like the Giants in the late 80s and early 90s. No. We
Hey,
were not-
Great battle
Jim
between
Burt.
the Niners and Giants that I saw on TV when I was in the Northeast, man.
Was it Jim Burt that ran up the middle and knocked Joe Montana and concussed him and basically knocked him out of San Francisco and
That
forced
was
him to
one of the
Kansas
times.
City?
Somebody else
Yeah,
hit
And
him,
then-
too.
Leonard Marshall.
It was
was
Leonard
one of the
Marshall.
alleviated. Yeah, Leonard Marshall ate him
Len-
for breakfast.
Yeah.
Yep. I've
So-
talked to Leonard Marshall about that, believe it or not, on social media. I'm like, dude, you broke my boy. I'm like,
Yeah.
you absolutely killed
And
him.
listen, you could kill the quarterback back then, and that's another thing that needs to be taken into consideration when
Yeah,
choosing this.
really. You ain't kidding. It's amazing they survived.
Like
as long
Terry
as they-
Bradshaw, another guy I would have loved to put on my list because he could take a beating. He was a tough guy. He made some really big
Mhm.
plays, but you know,
You know what? Terry Bradshaw is very underrated. Again, I didn't see him play, but from what I've heard, from what I've seen, from
yeah, it
what
wasn't
I
like
looked at,
big numbers, but he was a stud, bro.
he was a stud, man.
I
Four
saw
fucking
footage
Super
of him
Bowls.
rolling into the stadium. This is like, you know, footage from the 70s that I saw just recently, but he was in his beat up pickup truck. He's a fucking millionaire. So cool.
Yeah.
Oh shit! That guy's got so much money, he don't know what to do with it.
Yeah. The original
Prime.
TV.
Prime, are you on your 3 or 4 or 4?
We're all on 3 right
Yeah,
now.
we're on
My
three.
number 3 is your guy's number 4. Is Peyton Manning.
Okay.
Omaha, baby. Omaha.
Omaha.
Yeah, we won't spend a whole lot of. You guys pretty much said everything there is to be, needs to be said about Peyton Manning. He was one of those guys though that you just enjoyed watching him play. He had command of the offense. He had command of the opponent's defense. He had the biggest thing about Peyton Manning is that if you hear people talk about him now, is how respected he was. He was like Michael Jordan. People feared and respected Peyton Manning, and it almost got annoying sometimes because you're like, man, just snap the damn ball. But he's doing this pointing and this and that, and there was a method to his madness. Peyton Manning was one of my favorite quarterbacks. I hated when he retired, but he had to. The next thing, but Peyton Manning is my number 3, and you guys talked about it a few minutes ago, so we won't get into it. But the word Omaha is ingrained in everybody's heads right now because of Peyton and his little brother.
Absolutely. I remember we're so boring on the Niners. We just say 118. 118. That's what we say. It's so boring. Yep. I hate that. Yeah, but real quick, one last thing about Peyton Manning. You couldn't beat, like, in Madden, which I love. I always talk about Madden. In Madden, it was like you'd get bonus points for beating Indianapolis at home with Peyton, because he was so good.
Freudian slip there. Freudian slip. I like it.
Another guy that
we talked about Eli in the top 10. We mentioned his name. I love it.
That 10 to 15, that 11 to 15 picks would be interesting for us.
I'll tell you, those matches between Peyton Manning and Ray Lewis, they were a lot of fun to watch, man. 2 quarterbacks in the row right.
Ray Lewis absolutely loves Peyton Manning. Loves him.
Yep, no doubt. Yeah, that's very true. When Peyton Manning's Peyton places, he did one with Ray Lewis, and yeah, they get along real well. All right, we are down to our top 3 quarterbacks, and from what I'm hearing, we may have the same 3, but the order, I don't know. I'll go first over here. Number 3, Kenny's saying no. I don't know.
I'm gonna blow you guys.
No, my three was Peyton Manning, so you guys probably have the same.
Oh, that's right.
Number 1 and 2 is not even an argument, but we won't steal anybody's thunder.
Well, I don't know how Joe Montana's on anybody's list, but he's my number 3. Joe Montana won 4 freaking Super Bowls. He's a 3-time Super Bowl MVP and won 2 regular season MVPs. Joe did not lose. He went to 4. He won 4. He's like Michael Jordan in that sort of sense.
That's right.
What he did was great. Calm, cool, collective, did everything. Then goes to Kansas City when he's like in his late 30s or whatever. Brings him to an AFC championship. They almost win that. But Joe Montana with the 49ers, they ruled the 80s. Did they have a good defense? Yeah. But you know what? Roger Craig, not a great runner as a running back, but a very good weapon that they had. And, of course, Jerry Rice comes along in 85, but Joe Montana won 2 Super Bowls before Jerry even got there.
Yeah. So people forget that. People forget that. They think, it was all Montana. No, it wasn't.
No.
It wasn't all Montana and Rice. It was Rathman and Roger Craig and
Bill Walsh.
Yep. Bill Walsh picked. I remember when Bill Walsh picked Joe Montana. He said the reason we picked him is because he fits our system. And nowadays, system quarterback is a swear word. That you pick a quarterback because he fits your system. And Bill Walsh specifically picked Joe Montana out of Notre Dame because he fit their system. And that word right now is blasphemy. But the great Bill Walsh used that.
Means, and number 2,
that
term comes from college.
They don't.
And it's been applied to the NFL now. So.
Montana,
absolutely.
Absolute ultimate winner. So he's my number 3, guys. So we are down to Kenny's number 3 before we get to
I got my number 3, and you guys are not going to like it. I don't think.
So. Eli Manning.
It's Steve Young. I don't know. I'm sorry.
Wow, you put him that high.
Wow.
He's got 3 Super Bowls.
I kind of love it.
Wow.
He's a left-handed quarterback.
He got 1
3 Super Bowls. It's incredible. People hated Steve Young if you weren't a 49er fan, right? So I loved Steve Young. I know that's McNiner's favorite player. I love
49er fans hated him until he won the Super Bowl.
That's true.
49er fans hated him.
It was Joe Montana.
You're right, Prime.
Yeah.
Prime, you're right about that.
Yeah. I remember when he won that Super Bowl and he had somebody take the monkey off my back. Somebody metaphorically took the monkey off his back because he finally broke out of the shadow of Joe Montana.
Before that even happened, I remember when Joe Montana got traded to Kansas City, week 2, the 49ers go to Kansas City to play. Kansas City goes to San Fran.
Yeah.
90% of the people are cheering for Kansas City and cheering for Joe Montana. That's how much they loved him and did not want him to go, and were dreading that Steve Young was going to be the quarterback. Little did they know, two MVPs and a Super Bowl later, how you doing? I know that he got 3 because he was around when Joe Montana won the ones against Denver and Cincinnati.
Yeah,
but
like they're Jimmy G Super Bowls.
Steve Young holds the record. not the record, but Steve Young has the best Super Bowl performance ever.
Yeah, because Jimmy G
6
does have
touchdowns, baby.
Don't
6 touchdowns.
Super Bowls.
Nobody will ever do that again.
Yeah, well, see, look, I'm also a 49er fan, and this is my list, so, suck my weight.
Hey, you got it, man. That's your 3. All right, so now we're down to our top 2 over here. And what Kenny's doing, I have no idea what's going on, but
no clue.
I think I know.
That's crazy. Absolutely. So you want to do 2 and 1 simultaneously, or do you want to? My number 2 is Joe Montana for all the reasons we just talked about. 4 Super Bowl. He was no ordinary Joe. See what I did there? Joe Montana was the GOAT before the GOAT, and it wasn't even close. He didn't have all the stats. But there was not one quarterback. There's not one team, not one fan that you heard, would you want Joe Montana over your quarterback? Didn't matter who their quarterback was. John Elway, Dan Marino, didn't matter. Joe Montana was the undisputed GOAT before probably all 3 our number 1 came along and kind of took that over. But to me, Joe Montana was cool, calm, collected. He'd be in the huddle. There was a footage in NFL film where they were down in the Super Bowl. I think it was the one against Cincinnati, the second one. And he looks in the stands and says, "Man, isn't that John Candy?"
Yeah.
Just to keep his team, loose and like, we got this. And I still remember Sam White's, "They're going to Rice. They're going to Rice." They throw the ball to John Taylor for the winning Super Bowl. Absolute Joe Montana, and he was a great guy. From all accounts and everything. Joe Montana, just
no scandal.
Everything about him was class. Nothing. Joe Montana was as cool and he was a bad man. He was as Stephen A. Smith would say about Aaron Rodgers, he was a bad man. I love Joe Montana to death.
There we go. Yeah. I love it. So there's your number 2. All right. And Kenny, we're going to get to your number 2 in a second. Mine, I guess you guys may not have him, but I've seen enough, like I said, with Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson. Patrick Mahomes is a 3-time Super Bowl champion. All right. He's won 3 Super Bowl MVPs and is a 2-time regular season MVP. And he's only going to get better. From what I've seen, it doesn't really get much better than him. What he does is absolutely insane, out of control. He's got total control. They're in the Super Bowl every year. And to me, that's kind of like the LeBron James, Michael Jordan argument. Michael went 6-0, but LeBron went to 10 championships and he only won 4 of them. So take that for what it's worth. But Mahomes gets there year after year after year, and he is the main number 1 reason why it happens. He's only going to get better. He's only going to win more. Mahomes is not. People are talking about him right now like he is the best of all time. Now, we know where I'm going with number 1, obviously, but Mahomes right now, I've seen enough of him to say that he's better with the eye test than any other quarterback that I said on my list. That's what I go with, the eye test.
Yeah.
So
Kenny, it's Kenny's number 2.
It's my second guy, but before we move on, since there's no mention of any Patrick Mahomes on my list, he's not going to make it. He's not Patrick Mahomes on my list because he plays in a different time than all of these other guys. He plays in a time where the referees are his best friend. He plays in a time where if anything happens, they'll call a penalty on the other team so he can get another shot and go again. He plays on a team with an incredible defense, with a great defensive coordinator, with an amazing coach, with an amazing GM. He's got everything at his disposal. Anybody could be Patrick Mahomes surrounded by all those guys. Now, he has played well when the team hasn't played well, but that shit is over, guys. Kansas City is done. Patrick Mahomes is done. His last 2 years were mediocre years for him. The last 2 years were crap. That team is done. They're not winning any more Super Bowls. We're moving on. It's the Bills' time now, from what I understand.
Okay, you're nuts that you think that Kansas City is done. And you have
They're
to
done.
remember that Travis Kelce is way past his prime. Rashee Rice was out for the year. Hollywood Brown didn't come around until the end. They didn't have anybody to throw the ball to. They didn't have anybody to run the ball until they picked Kareem Hunt up off the fucking street. Look, I know that the thing is numbers aren't everything. Patrick Mahomes has done everything. He is absolutely amazing. And look,
Again,
I know
he never had to have
Panthers-
some linebacker come from 20 yards away and hit him as hard as he could. That shit's never happened.
because he
Never-
doesn't allow it to happen. He doesn't let
That's
it
because
happen.
they're not
He's
allowed.
smart.
I just explained what happened when Nick Bosa had Baker in his grasp and couldn't sack the guy. It's all bullshit today.
Doesn't
It's
happen
all
with
centered
Mahomes.
about
Mahomes
protecting
is
the
too
quarterback
smart.
so that he could air this fucking ball out for 60, 70 yards because that's all people want to see because nobody watches football.
See,
Nobody's
Mahomes-
watching live sports
No,
unless
no.
you've been watching live sports for 30, 40 years. And so what they want is Patrick Mahomes and Lamar Jackson out there flinging balls to guys and scoring 50
Wow.
points a game. It's a completely different game that Patrick Mahomes plays in than everyone else on my list. I think that he just doesn't even make it.
Henny, you just got to put out a documentary about conspiracy theories. It is just out of fucking control.
I would, but nobody would watch the damn
The
thing.
whole league is for Patrick Mahomes. It's nonsense. He does.
But
what
we've
he does.
we've seen all the nonsense like bullshit calls
From
and shit.
day
We've seen
one.
it live with our own
From
eyes.
day one. This guy has been the best player in the NFL. From the second he fucking set foot,
He beat the
on
Niners
field,
with
he's the
Jimmy
best.
G at quarterback, and he was losing by 10 points.
Kenny, you know the reason why we got there is because of our defense. Don't tell me it was because of
But
Jimmy
he was
Garoppolo.
losing to the Niners by 10 points to a quarterback who shouldn't even be on the field.
And what happened? They came back and scored 21 points in the fourth quarter. Why? Because he's clutch. And Mahomes never,
because Jimmy G
ever
overthrew
choked.
a
And-
guy. Because Jimmy G overthrew a wide receiver by 10 yards. If not,
And that's
not
Mahomes'
win the
fault.
Super Bowl.
And
And
that's
Patrick
Mahomes'
Mahomes couldn't
fault.
do anything
Here.
about it.
And
Had
that's
nothing to do with
Mahomes'
him.
fault.
Guy,
And that's
I'm not a Mahomes
No,
fan.
I'm saying that
I'm not a
he has
Mahomes
nothing to
fan
do
at all.
with that win if Jimmy G completes that pass.
Mahomes had 13 seconds to drive down the field for the Bills in order to move to the
But
next
you just
round
said the
of playoffs.
Niners were
He
so
made
good
two
on
of the
defense.
greatest passes that you could ever see in your entire life. They
You
kept
just
the
said-
ball.
Wow.
And
You hear this, ladies and gentlemen?
Defense, you just said
This
it
is
was
what
the
I gotta deal with
defense
on the
that got
text
the
thread.
Niners there. How did the
Unbelievable.
defense get the Niners there and then give up a touchdown in 13 seconds? How
Show
good is the
some res-
defense?
You don't even have Mahomes in your top 10, let alone top 3 or 4.
He was below Eli Manning.
Kenny, below Eli Manning. Kenny, I don't know about us anymore.
Eli
Something
Manning has
happened.
2 Super Bowls. Patrick Mahomes has
I-
1 Super Bowl. 4?
3. He won 3 and he's been to 5. What's
So
the
he
matter
has
with
3
you?
Super Bowls, and you want me to give him more love than Eli Manning for having 1 more Super
Yeah.
Bowl on a stacked team?
Yes. When is
In
Eli
a-
Manning
in an
ever been
era
the
where you
top
can't
5
touch the
quarterback in the
quarterback?
NFL? Eli Manning
Hey,
is
hey,
never
hey,
won
hey,
the
hey,
top five.
hey, why is Eli catching strays, man? You don't look. You guys just keep going with you. Leave Eli out of this. You guys are hurting I'm sitting here
I was
enjoying
giving
this.
Eli a
And
compliment.
you guys are, come on. No, I'm just, but I mean, look, I mean, come on. Jay hates him for whatever reason. I don't know what Jay hates
I don't even
Eli,
hate
man.
Patrick
I think he
Mahomes.
does it
Bringing
partially
up
because he
the
hates him.
stuff.
He hates him partially, but I think the other reason does is just to piss me off. I think that's what he's trying.
That's more than anything.
Listen,
no,
I'm not
I'm not a Mahomes fan. I'm not a huge Mahomes fan. I'm not a huge Mahomes fan, but it is what it is. The guy's got 3. He's been in the league, 8 years?
That's it.
And he's got 3 Super Bowls. There's not even any other quarterbacks when you look, because in the moment, you saw Stafford's great, Eli's great, Jackson's great, Josh Allen's great. But at the end of the day,
I didn't
when
say
you
that.
look at this group of modern quarterbacks, he's the only one that really stands out. He's the only one really with any championships. You got a Jalen Hurts sprinkled in there and things like that. But Patrick Mahomes is probably the only quarterback in this group right now that you can look at and say, if his career was to stop right now, he's a surefire Hall of Famer. And this is coming from a guy, I'm not a huge Mahomes fan because of all the reasons you mentioned. But 3 Super Bowl, I mean, come on, man. The rest of the pack in this group is not even close.
The guy for 3 years, like McDiner says down here.
I'm not riding him at all.
I'll tell you right
Well,
now.
if that's the case, then you guys have been riding Kyle Shanahan for 10 years and he ain't done shit.
So if you can make
How many times do I got to hear how great Kyle Shanahan is and he ain't won a damn thing? Let's
It's
see this
the
guru
Niners
win
to the
a Super Bowl with Brock
Jimmy
Purdy.
Garoppolo.
He hasn't won any, and he choked away a 25-point lead to everybody's number one right now. Stop it, man.
Shanahan took Jimmy Garoppolo to the Super Bowl and was beating the Chiefs.
He didn't
with
take
7 minutes
your
left.
defense took Jimmy
Then he
Garoppolo to the
Then
Super
he
Bowl.
took a rookie
Kyle Shanahan
who
didn't do
hadn't even played.
shit.
Then he
Kenny,
took a
Kyle
kid
Shanahan needs to be Kyle Shanahan needs to go back to being a coordinator. Kyle Shanahan didn't do shit. That defense you guys
Well,
had.
listen,
Just
Kenny,
like I'll admit, the first
you
Super
know
Bowl
there's two
was Strahan
handfuls
and
of
Tuck and all, and
coaches
Eli
that
didn't
won
do a
Super
whole hell of a
Bowls.
lot.
So I'm not gonna.
What's that?
There's two handfuls of coaches who've won all the Super Bowls. So I'm not gonna get on Kyle Shanahan for not winning a Super Bowl, but being there twice and getting to 4 NFC championships. That has to be respected.
He's been there
Andy
twice.
Reid didn't do shit
Been
until
there
he got to
twice,
Kansas.
and he has not been able to win because Patrick Mahomes
Andy
is
Reid
there.
was fired and kicked out and spit out because he couldn't do shit in the postseason.
But look at what he did, though. It's not like he was a bum. He went to 4 NFC championship games.
How many years did it
and
take?
a Super Bowl.
You're only hurting your case if you tell me that Andy Reid is a bum. He goes to Kansas City. Patrick Mahomes comes along, and now he's the greatest coach of all time.
He was in Philly. He was kicked out. They wanted to win.
Okay, so
because they thought they could do better.
They won.
And they went to how many years later?
They won a Super Bowl. And then they won another.
How many years later though?
So how many Super Bowls
Patrick Mahomes supplanted a 13-win quarterback.
3.
Didn't Alex Smith win like 13 games
without Andy Reid? They have 2.
I get it.
That big difference?
Who has 2?
But to your argument before, it's a different time.
What does that have?
It was a different time.
What does that have to do with anything?
Plus Patrick Mahomes is a better quarterback than Donovan McNabb. I think we can all agree with that.
Goes to Kansas City, gets 3 Super Bowls. They fired him because they needed to move on.
Because he's better than Donovan McNabb.
Do you understand that you're hurting your case by saying that a poor old Andy Reid comes to Kansas City
Jesus.
and Patrick Mahomes saves his career? Do you understand what you're saying right now?
Poor old Andy Reid. I never said that.
You said he got kicked out of Philadelphia.
Which is true.
Okay, but he took the team to 5 NFC
so what
championships.
I said was true, and then you're telling me I said some shit I didn't say.
You just said he got kicked out of Philadelphia. That means they didn't want him anymore. And it is okay. So that's
then
true.
He went to KC. Then he went to KC and he had some success.
And he had some success, and then he had incredible success when Patrick Mahomes became the starter.
Well, he wasn't the only guy on the team.
And have you watched football at all over the past 6 years?
Never.
One game.
I don't watch football. It doesn't help me beat people in pick'ems, and it doesn't help me beat people in fantasy. So
I'm loving this, man. Fans, you gotta love this. You gotta love this, fans. This is why we do the show.
You gotta put the pocket protector away and go with your gut, man. That's why I do well in pick'ems. That's why I do well in fantasy, because I go with my gut. I don't look at numbers from 20 years ago and who was the coach and who was the DC and who was that shit is gonna mess with your head.
So we're gonna get to the rest of our countdown over here, and I'm guessing that your number 1 is probably like Baker Mayfield or something like that.
No, it's Joe Montana because he's the greatest quarterback to ever live.
That's your number 1? That's your number 1
for everyone.
So Tom Brady's not on your list?
All right, I gotta go.
Tom Brady is my number 2.
Oh, I thought you said Mahomes. I thought you said. Oh, okay, all right. I was about to shut the lights off.
Mahomes traveling with the refs is not a conspiracy I came up with. That shit has been the top for years and years and years. So don't come here saying I'm a conspiracist because
Tom Brady doesn't get calls.
Literally swaps jerseys with the refs.
Aaron Rodgers gets
calls. Here.
You can't touch him. You can't do
anything. As much as I love
holding calls do the Chiefs have in Super Bowls? Tell me how many holding calls the Chiefs have had called on them in the Super Bowl. Round it off.
As much as I love Tom Brady, the entire legend of Tom Brady started with a favorable call, which was the tuck rule. However,
Brady is on the list because at least he played 20 years ago when men got hit by people. People got hit.
Tom Brady's on the list because he's got 7 Super Bowls.
Did you see what happened to Patrick Mahomes' last Super Bowl? He got the hell beat out of him, and he stood in there, and he still played, and he still tried to make it happen. Look, when they played against Tampa Bay, he had no offensive line whatsoever. Look, Tom Brady is number 1, and that's the end of the story. Champion, 5-time Super Bowl MVP, won the regular season 3 times? MVP?
The GOAT, baby.
But
The
to not
GOAT.
have Patrick Mahomes
The GOAT.
anywhere on your list is just.
Tom Brady won a lot of Super Bowls because of his defense and because of his kick.
Oh my God! Oh Jesus! But stop it!
Oh,
Stop!
He didn't win
Stop
any
it.
Super Bowls.
That Levante David, that Tampa Bay, no.
Boy, Kenny, I
No
am
Super
shocked.
Bowl. All 7 Super Bowls was Tom Brady. playing
7 Super Bowls, and he had nothing to do with any of them.
No, but you're saying he's the only guy on the field. I'm saying he wasn't.
I'm not saying that. I'm saying-
Anybody at any given time.
Field goals for him. I'm saying.
You
even
never
if
But
he
we're
was
talking
over-
about quarterbacks right now.
Yeah.
7
Yeah,
Super
talking about
Bowls, and it's not.
quarterbacks who get you
Nobody is
something.
ever going to win. Nobody is
And then
ever going to
field
win
goals, the
7 Super Bowls
opportunity, and they miss.
ever.
He's got every
What's
passing
that?
record that exists. Every
Scott
passing
Norwood-
90,000 yards.
Norwood misses kicks.
90,000 yards, 600
Brady has
plus
been a
touchdown
Thierry.
passes.
He's the greatest quarterback in the world.
Well, when we
Tom
get to
Brady is-
kickers, we'll put Adam Vinatieri at number 1 for his clutch super. Come on, Kenny. Oh my God.
Look, if you're
We're
going to bring up
an
the
hour and 20 minutes.
Bring up the 7 Super Bowls, you have to bring up the fact that he wasn't there alone.
But
Okay. And
nobody-
But, okay, let me ask you this.
Oh my
Let me ask you
God.
this. Hold on, One second. Hold on 1 second, Jason. 1 second. Once the 90s, how many Super Bowls haven't been decided by a field goal or a late field? Outside, take away the Dallas blowing out Buffalo and all the Niners blowing out the Chargers and all those earlier late 80s, early 90s Super Bowl. Most Super Bowls have been decided by a kicker. So you're penalizing Tom Brady because I bet Peyton Manning would love to have Adam
well,
Vinatieri.
listen, I don't know if that's true. If you're saying it's true, I'll take your word for it. But most Super Bowls were decided by a kicker.
So Kenny, where was Joe Montana? Kenny,
Is
where
that
was
a
Joe
fact? I just
Montana?
want to know if that's a fact.
Kenny.
A lot of them were decided by late field goals.
Okay, well,
Right.
a lot of them is fine. All of them or most of them is very different than a lot.
Okay. Well, we're being that's semantics now.
Well, because I have to know, because that's the basis of your argument.
No.
If it's not
No,
even
the
one-
basis of my argument. The basis of my argument is that Tom Brady has 7 Super Bowls, and you're saying that it was all defense on all. That Tampa Bay was not defense. That Tampa Bay was Tom Brady.
Guys, I'm gonna lose
Never
it in
said
2
was
seconds.
all
Kenny,
defense. Never said
Kenny,
it was all
where
defense, and I never
was-
said it was all kickers. But you guys
Oh
can
my
say
God.
what I said. Even though I didn't say
Kenny.
that, that's fine.
Kenny, you have to listen. I'm talking to you, please. Where is Joe Montana on your list? Where?
Number 1.
Okay. Do you know how great his teams were in the 80s? They were
Oh
the
God,
best
I remember
team in
all
the
the teams.
NFL.
You just mentioned how good Jim Kelly and his team was. We round off.
I didn't say
25
shit about Jim
middle.
Kelly. He's not in my top 10. What the hell does Jim Kelly have to do with it? Joe
Because
Montana's
they
your number
played at
1.
the same
He had the
time, and you're
best
telling me
team
how
in
great
the
the
80s.
Niners were.
He won
Well, how
4
great was
Super
Buffalo?
Bowls, Kenny. 4.
How great were the Giants? How great were the
What are
Green Bay
you
Packers?
talking
There were
about?
other great teams.
Kenny, your head's all over the place. You have Joe Montana as your number 1. You're telling me he did it by himself? He did it all by himself.
Every
No,
quarterback
I'm not
has
saying
had
that.
great
You're
players
saying
around
that.
them.
No,
Every quarterback that's won a Super Bowl has had great. Dallas had 75 Terry Bradshaw, every guy on his friggin' team was a Hall of Famer. Every good quarterback, every great quarterback. Steve Young had a really good
Guys,
defense.
are
Was
you
that the
mad
Deion
because
Sanders defense?
Tom Brady at number 2? Is that really what you guys are mad about? That on
No,
my
no.
list?
Your argument.
No, I'm not mad at that. It's the fact that you said he did it all. It was all defense in all 7 of them. That 28-3 Super Bowl was not defense. That was all Tom Brady. He threw for 500 yards in that game.
You got to be accurate, okay? And you can say whatever you want and scream over me all day. I can do that shit for hours because I don't go to sleep for another 12 hours. But here's the thing: we're gonna waste time doing that. I didn't say those things. I said there was a lot of defense helping him out, and there was kickers not missing field goals, like you just said. Vinatieri made his field goals. Scott Norwood missed his field goals, and so we praise Tom Brady, but we don't talk that way about Jim Kelly because he doesn't have Super Bowls.
So
And
why
I told you I'm not
why
doing a
isn't Jim
list.
Kelly in your top 10?
I
Why
told
is
you
Jim
I'm
Kelly
not
not?
doing a list based on Super Bowls for the
What?
most part. I'm gonna take it into consideration. That wasn't all I was doing.
Why is Jim?
I
Kelly
just said
not in your
that. I
top
said
10?
earlier
Hold on,
that I had
Prime,
Marino
Prime.
and Kelly tied at like number 8.
Why is Jim Kelly not in your top 10 then, Kenny? Why?
Well, because
doesn't
besides
make
those
any
4 or 5
sense.
years,
You
besides
had
those 4 or
one
5
leg to
years
stand
of
on, and now
success.
the other one just got chopped off. You can't stand anymore. I mean, you didn't
Guys,
even
I
have
only
him in your
have
top
10
10.
spots. Jason. I only have 10 positions. I only have 10 choices.
But your whole logic is that teams can't do it, quarterbacks can't do it by themselves.
If Jim Kelly, even if Scott Norwood made 2 of those, he still wouldn't be on the list, okay?
McNiner, Tom Brady's first 3 Super Bowls are mostly defense. How about the other 6 that the other 5 that he won, or whatever the hell it was, the other 4?
Was that after he invented the tuck rule and when he started working with the refs? Or
it happened in the first year.
Because here's the thing:
before and it was
Patrick
actually
Mahomes,
a rule.
The Golden Boy traveled with the refs.
Actually,
we know who originally traveled with the refs, and that was.
Did Tom Brady win the Super Bowl every year? Did he win the Super Bowl every year? No. Ben Roethlisberger won. Peyton Manning won. Kurt Warner won. Other guys like that. So we can go on and on with
You're right.
quarterbacks who won that aren't named Tom Brady and Patrick Mahomes and Peyton Manning and John Elway and Joe Montana and all that.
Yeah.
But just not having him on your list is a little bit mind-blowing. It's not your list. It's the logic. It's the logic, though.
That's not the last 20 years of football are not the same as the years before that. It just hasn't been like that the last 10, 15 years. Okay,
well, then if that's the case, most of the quarterbacks on our list that we named shouldn't be on this list then. So we should just go back to like 2000 and just name those quarterbacks because they all played in similar eras. So all the John Elways, the Dan Marinos, the Montanas, all of them shouldn't be on the list.
With Drew Brees, okay? No refs were traveling. Drew Brees didn't invent a tuck rule. They didn't change the fucking rules because Tom Brady lost the game. Okay, that's the kind of shit I'm talking about.
Tom Brady was not Tom Brady at that moment.
No, he wasn't.
First year in the playoffs, nobody gave 2 shits about Tom Brady. It was an actual
rule
that the referees correctly called. It was a rule that the referees correctly called.
How do you know about the inner workings of the NFL, Jason? Please tell me.
You think that they cared about Tom Brady, who none of them even knew?
I'm laughing because you think you know what the fuck the NFL is doing. That's what
Tom Brady. In his first year, was the Golden
Ladies and gentlemen, we're an hour and 24 minutes into this. Hour and 24 minutes.
Listen, we didn't even finish the list, but 6 months ago, maybe before that, I brought up private equity. We still haven't talked about it. Nobody wants to talk about it. It's already affecting fucking teams. Private equity shows up, they gut shit, they sell everything. Dallas is doing it. The Niners are doing it. This shit is real, okay? The NFL doesn't give a fuck about football or Super Bowls. They give a shit about money and commercials and endorsements and gambling apps and investors. And so football has gone out the window as far as a real competitive back and forth game, in my opinion, long time ago. The NFL, nobody has watched in a million years. That's why they're doing all this crazy shit. Nobody watches live sports. Okay? They have to make it exciting like wrestling. They know it. It has to be scripted. If you don't think so, don't think so. But
NFL's number one rated show every week. NFL's number one rated show every single week. Number one rated TV every single Sunday. Nothing even comes close to it. Nothing compares to it. You think it's scripted? Okay, but I've certainly lost my breath. We're not.
You think having the highest rated show is enough money for them to do what they're doing? To keep up with the
NFL has never needed to script anything. They have real life drama.
Dude, I have real life TV I have in newspapers. It's FBI. People have already. The NFL admitted to rigging games.
FBI.
Fake.
What is this, fucking Homeland? What do you mean the FBI?
And it's been going on since the 40s. Yes, dude, it's documented. This shit is live and on news reports, and I even have them on my channel. If you take a minute, watch my videos, maybe you'll see some shit on there that you never saw before. But you're gonna have to go out of your way to look at my video. I'm sorry.
I've heard of fake news, Kenny. I've definitely heard of that.
It's not fake news. This is PBS NewsHour in the 80s. This shit is legit.
PBS?
Are you laughing at PBS News?
PBS?
It's the only fucking news that's actually like reliable. That's why
we're not going to get into a political conversation over here. That's not going to happen. We're definitely not doing politics.
Out of his funding as we speak. They're trying to take all the money that PBS gets because they don't want them talking and saying the shit that they do. Because now all your news is on the internet, and people get their news from social media. Yeah, bro. Right. Listen, I'm sorry that you think conspiracy and whatever funnels as much money as the NFL, and it's not rigged, it's not fucking shady. You're crazy, bro.
So why didn't Patrick Mahomes win the Super Bowl? Kenny, answer my question. I've been trying to ask you, but you've been talking over me for a half hour. Why didn't Patrick Mahomes win the Super Bowl this year? Why?
Well, because everyone knew fucking the Chiefs were rigged as fuck, and they had to give it to someone else. Because
oh my god.
All the way up. Look, the Eagles were a great team, but all the way up to this year, what was the talk? Jason, were you not watching shit, not reading?
And how
shit?
come Tom Brady won 7 Super Bowls? All the way up
Nobody
until
liked Tom
41.
Brady either. The NFL did a heel thing. That's what they do. They did a heel.
He won a Super Bowl when he was 41 years old.
They
Or
kept
42.
the heel. The heel. It's WWE and the NFL got into bed together when the XFL was created, and they never got out of bed. They want money, scripted entertainment. The NFL is classified as an entertainment company, just like the WWF, not a sports organization. Not
So
sports.
is the NBA.
That's
So
how
is the
they get away
MLB.
with
So
gambling.
is soccer.
That's how they get away with gambling, by not being a sports industry. They're an
All right.
entertainment company.
All right, this has been one of the weirdest shows of all time. I don't even know where else to go. Prime, Prime. I know you're out.
Listen,
I'm
guys, go
definitely
ahead and
out.
put your Tom Brady and your Patrick Mahomes at your 1 and 2. Everyone's fucking super. They're so like it was
No,
so.
my 1 and 2 was
Nobody
Montana
fucking
and
fell
Brady.
asleep at the top 2 picks that you guys. Nobody fell asleep, so I guess that's good.
Mine were Joe Montana was my 2, Brady was 1, Mahomes was my number 4, Peyton was my number 3. So that there's that. But okay.
4 is nice. I mean, I guess that's a little better. But I'm not putting Patrick Mahomes at the top of my list. The last
That's
2,
fine.
those are the last 2 teams. Look, if I'm the only one saying that those 2 teams are full of shit and that those Super Bowls and shit were all scripted, then fine, but I'm not. And I'm not the
They're
first.
the only
either.
2 teams. The only 2 teams in the entire league.
They're the
that-
last 2 teams to do this and win a bunch of Super Bowls.
What about
Like,
the 49ers in the 80s? And what
The
about
Niners
the
were a
Steelers in the
they had no
70s and the Green Bay Packers in the 60s? What
no
about all
salary
those?
cap? No salary cap.
All right, but you said it's a money
and
grab.
football was rigged
You
even
said it's
before
a
that.
money
Jason,
grab.
You already know. Super Bowl
You
3
said
was
it's
rigged.
all about money. You said
Super
it's
Bowl
all
3
about
was
money.
rigged. The merger had to go through or there would be no NFL. You understand?
That happened in 1970. It didn't
It'd
happen
be the
5 years
AFL
ago.
and the NFL. If the merger by the 3rd year, if the AFL didn't produce a legitimate competition to an NFL team, the merger would not go through. There would be no NFL. The shitty ass fucking Jets, who were pure garbage, okay, guaranteed a Super Bowl. Joe
Do you-
Namath was a bookies runner. He had a
Do you know who
restaurant
the-
that
do
Mafia
you know who the
fucking
quarterback
hung out
was?
at.
Do you know who the quarterback
The
was?
fucking Johnny Unitas was on the bench.
Yes, he
They
was
got
on the
inside
bench.
the
He was
20-yard line in that game 5 times and didn't score even a field goal, Jason. Indy
So-
got inside the 25 times and didn't even lead with 3 points once.
How did the Giants beat the Patriots twice in the Super Bowl? How'd that
Because
happen?
it's exciting. It's the better story.
No, you're contradicting everything
Eli
you're saying,
beating
Kenny.
him.
The better story would have been Tom Brady winning 9 Super Bowls instead of only 7.
No, that's too much.
If
heel,
if
okay, that's too
Seven-
much.
I'm
heel.
here.
7's a lot. Nobody ever won more than 4. So 7's really cracking it. But all right, this was fun. I actually had a really good time despite all
Well, I
the
hope you
arguments.
did. Because
I did.
before
I had a
that,
great time.
I almost fell asleep before that conversation.
hour
I
and
had a great
33
time. I
minutes.
know. You've been killing me, but finally you woke up and you said some more crazy shit than you usually do, and I appreciate it because I definitely needed something to talk about at work tomorrow. That'd be a lot of fun.
Hey, look, when
Oh,
people be
absolutely.
like, that guy's
Absolutely.
fucking nuts.
Yeah, all right. I'll talk to the people in the insane asylum. All right. All right. Money, you ready to go? All right. I got to take the dog for a walk. We went way too long, but I had a lot of fun.
Oh,
Thanks,
man.
guys. We really appreciate you chiming in.
All right.
This is crazy. We'll see what happens with the running backs next week. I don't know what's going
Oh,
to happen.
God.
Oh, man.
Oh God, no!
Now I'm really
All
going
right.
to piss you off.
I don't think
All
we're
right.
I don't know if we may have to cancel that. All right. We're out of here, fellas. Thank you.
All right.
Good night.
Peace.